I'm going to give a couple minutes to let people kind of scroll in. I mean, I've been excited for a lot of challenges, but I think I'm most excited for this challenge because two things that I do every single day are breath work and cold plunging. I try to get natural light. I do try to touch the surface of the earth, but sometimes it's just not practical. Cold plunging, of all things, is about to become your drug of choice. If you've never done a cold plunge before, you're in for a real treat. I wanted to be really clear about something. You do not have to buy the plunge pop-up. You don't have to go out and spend thousands of dollars on a cold plunge. If you have a cold shower or if you have a bathtub and you can get to 7-Eleven and just get a couple bags of ice and put them in your tub, it usually takes me 4 to 8 of those 10-pound bags or 3 or 4 of the 20-pound bags of ice. You could just dump those in your tub and fill it up with cool water, swirl it around and let all of the ice melt first. Don't get in there with all of the ice right at the top. It's okay if there's still some ice on the top, but you want it to swirl around so the temperature is kind of even and that ice has had a chance to cool the tub down. But by no means do you have to spend any money to participate in today's cold plunge challenge. In fact, I'm going to be giving away a bunch of cold plunge pop-ups. I'm going to be giving away a bunch of Ultimate Human swag gear. We're finally fully stocked on Ultimate Human swag gear. Maybe if you're lucky, you'll get one of these, the Ultimate Human sandals. So we're gonna make these really exciting, and I want to reward you guys for just breaking the mold and doing something really difficult. You know, one of my favorite sayings that I say all the time is that aging is the aggressive pursuit of comfort. And nothing is more true than that statement. You know, the more aggressively we seek comfort, the faster we age. And so cold plunging allows you to get up in the morning, do something difficult, survive it, conquer it, have that dopamine rush, and then go out and start your day. And I think it's a real metaphor for life because in the human body, there is a response called hormesis. And hormesis is the scientific term for when you stress the body, you put either your cells or your body under stress and it strengthens in response. You know, not all stress is bad for the body. Some stresses are very good for the body. So this is what we call a hormetic stress. We're going to put a stress on the body and it's going to react by strengthening. The same thing that we do during resistance exercise, right? I mean, the whole reason we go to the gym is to actually tear muscle, is to damage muscle. And what happens when you tear a muscle? Well, it grows back larger. This is called muscle hypertrophy or muscle hyperplasia. Muscle hypertrophy is when you tear a muscle and it grows back larger. And muscle hyperplasia is where you tear a muscle, it grows back larger, and then new tissue forms around that tear. And that's what really makes our muscles much larger and much stronger. So cold plunging is something that we do not to become cold adaptive. We do it to cold shock the body, right? We're trying to shock the body, have it respond, and then get out. So, you know, if you're on Instagram long enough, you're going to see guys getting in cold plunges at 35 degrees, 37 degrees for 10 or 12 minutes. There is no evidence that I have seen anywhere in the literature that colder is better or longer is better. So let's just go through the basics of cold plunging really quick, and then we're going to get in about 10 minutes, we're going to switch over to Ryan at Cold Plunge headquarters. He's going to show us a couple of the different plunges. He's going to be doing the plunge with us today. Remember, at 10:55, we're going to switch over and we're going to actually, I'm going to switch cameras and we're going to actually do the cold plunge together. And then when we're done our first cold plunge, we'll take a few minute break, about a 15-minute break. So you can dry off and change and put some dry clothes on. And then we'll switch over to the VIP and I'll open it up for an hour of direct Q&A and a bunch of giveaways. So basically, what is cold plunging? Well, cold plunging is a hormetic stress, right? Just like exercise or even eating, it is a hormetic stress. And when we hormetically stress the body, very often it strengthens in response. The main proven benefits of cold plunging are the following. We know that when we submerge ourselves in cold water, that the first thing that happens is you get a peripheral vasoconstriction. So remember that your arteries are actually smooth muscle. There's 3 types of muscle in the body. You've got cardiac muscle, which is only in the heart. You've got smooth muscle, which is lining the arteries throughout 63,000 miles of vessel in our body. And then you've got skeletal muscle, the muscle that we see that you know, in our biceps and our deltoids and our pecs. So what happens when you submerge smooth muscle in cold water is it vasospasms. So that's going to take all the blood from your extremities, your arms, your legs, your toes, your hands, your forearms, and it's going to push that blood into your core in an effort to save your life. And what happens when you focus all of that blood in your core? Well, that blood's going to your brain, your liver, your lungs, your pancreas, your kidneys, all the vital organs. It's incredible how intelligent God designed us, because when it's so many protective mechanisms, we can tap these every day. So now you get this peripheral vasoconstriction. You force blood into your core, which means that you are forcing blood up to your brain. You're actually mimicking deep sleep or REM sleep with the amount of oxygen you're pushing to your brain. You're taking the blood that would normally be out in your extremities and you're forcing it into the core. The next thing that happens is your body activates a very special type of fat in the body. We all know what white fat is because most of us have some that we'd love to get rid of. So white fat is the little bit of belly fat. It's the fat that you can actually see. It's the fat that's actually very visible. But there's a different type of fat in the body called brown fat. And brown fat is very special because brown fat is a human being's thermostat. It actually takes a calorie and exchanges it for heat. So when people say that cold plunging is not good for weight loss, or that there's no evidence that cold plunging can help you lose body fat, that is absolutely false. There are a number of benefits that point directly to fatty acid metabolism and directly to weight loss. So now you've got this peripheral vasoconstriction, you've activated brown fat, and there is a cost. When you cool the body down and then you sit, you get out of a cold plunge and you sit, how does your body warm back up? It not only warms up to ambient air temperature, because it's probably maybe 80 degrees outside here in Miami. Some of you are in 70-degree weather. How does your body go past 70 degrees, past 80 degrees, and get all the way back to 98.6 degrees? It's brown fat. Brown fat is exchanging calories for heat. We're actually generating heat by exchanging calories for heat. So it is absolutely raising your metabolism, and it is absolutely good for fatty acid metabolism. So we have in our 10X Health Clinic Network, if you saw my post the other day, we just passed our 150,000th patient. So we have 150,000 patients in our system. And I don't like to say that we use our clients and our patients as guinea pigs, but we do large scale experiments, meaning we do large scale participations, and the ones that do cold plunging in the morning consistently report better body fat percentages, lower body fat percentages, and thousands of patients have told us that cold plunging was the game changer, that it took them from that plateau where they couldn't lose any more body fat to actually kickstarting their body fat loss again. So first thing, you get a peripheral vasoconstriction, then you activate brown fat, the body's thermostat. It starts to raise your temperature. There's a cost to creating heat, and that cost is calories. So you're burning calories and raising your metabolic rate. The other thing that happens is this hormetic response is really interesting, because if you put your face under the water, what happens is you activate something called the mammalian dive reflex. And if you look up the mammalian dive reflex, you'll see that all mammals, including human beings, have this reflex. And what happens when a whale or a dolphin dives in the ocean, as they actually go deeper, the water gets colder. That cold water passing over their face causes their body to shift from a sympathetic state to a parasympathetic state. A sympathetic state is a state of fight or flight. A parasympathetic state is a state of rest and digest. When we're sleeping, we're parasympathetic. When we're working, or we're agitated, or we're having an argument, or we're fearful, we're in a sympathetic state. So believe it or not, if you get in a cold plunge and you put your head just for a few seconds underwater and that cold water rushes by your face, you'll activate this mammalian dive reflex and will actually calm your nervous system down. Think about, a whale or a dolphin wanting to dive to great depths. As they're going deeper, they're obviously getting further from the surface. So you want to use less oxygen, and you want the nervous system to be calm. You want the heart rate to be slow. You want the metabolism to quiet so that you can hold your breath for longer. So you're going to activate the mammalian dive reflex if you put cold water over your face. You've activated brown fat, you've gotten a peripheral vasoconstriction, and then the real magic happens. Your liver releases something called cold shock proteins. If you want to really have some fun, just Google benefits of cold shock proteins. Don't take my word for it. There's all kinds of research on cold shock proteins. There are two that I'm specifically researching now myself. One is called LIN, L-I-N, 28A, and the other one is called Lin, Lin 28B. What's interesting about these two cold shock proteins, and there's a whole class of these proteins. Remember, your body is panicking, right? Your body thinks that you were walking on a lake on the ice and you broke through the ice and now you're in ice cold water. And so how am I going to get out? Well, number one, I'm going to calm the body down. Number two, I'm going to peripheral vasoconstrict. Number three, I'm going to turn on my body's thermostat. Number four, I'm going to release cold shock proteins. These proteins hit the bloodstream. They are known to scour the body of free radicals. So they're a free radical neutralizer. So they stop free radical oxidation. They actually increase the rate of protein synthesis, which is muscle repair. And Lin 28A and Lin 28B, these two very special cold shock proteins, are now being heavily researched because they actually improve your insulin resistance. So if you're slightly insulin resistant, meaning that it takes more insulin to bring your blood sugar down, these cold shock proteins can actually help your body become more sensitive to glucose, meaning you become more insulin sensitive and less insulin resistant. We know now that insulin resistance is one of the hallmarks of chronic disease, right? The old theory that cholesterol, LDL cholesterol is the cause of cardiovascular disease, or that it is directly linked to cardiovascular disease, is being blown out of the water by big data and new research. We know that what happens in many forms of cardiovascular disease is that it's the cholesterol being called to the site, not cholesterol just showing up on its own and causing the damage. It's like blaming the fireman for the fire, right? Because the old hypothesis was, well, every time there's a fire, the firemen show up. And what are the firemen there to do? They're there to put out the fire. So every time there's endothelial damage, meaning damage to the lining of your blood vessels, what's called the endocalyx or the glycocalyx, when there's damage, they call cholesterol. And cholesterol comes to patch that site of repair. So what we want to avoid is pro-inflammatory foods, things like seed oils and all. I don't want to get off the topic on our cold plunge challenge, but the things that cause damage to our endothelial lining. So it's not the firemen. You know, the school of thought should not be if we had less firemen, we would have less fires. That's not true. So if we have less cholesterol, we don't have less cardiovascular disease. If we have less cholesterol, we have less capacity to repair the damage that causes cardiovascular disease. And so one of the interesting things about cold plunging, the reason why I'm telling you guys the story, is that one of the interesting things about cold plunging is that these cold shock proteins that are released from your liver can actually help reduce that damage, lower the inflammatory response, and increase your insulin resistance. And then the final thing it does, think about what kind of mood or what kind of state you want to be in if you truly did fall through the ice. All right, if you actually cracked through the ice and you only had a few minutes to get out, well, you would want to be clear, cognizant, awake, and alert. You'd want a pupillary dilation. You'd want to be hyper aware of your surroundings. So what happens? You get a spike in dopamine. That's an endorphin rush. And this doesn't just last for 30 seconds, right? I mean, I saw a comparison between the amount of dopamine raise that you get from doing cocaine, and I don't suggest that you do cocaine instead of cold plunging. My preference is cold plunging, but that lasts about 9 to 20 minutes, and the rise in dopamine from cold plunging can last up to 6 hours. That's a fact. So just think about it. You get an elevated mood, you get a boost in your emotional state, you get an increase in your metabolism, you get cold shock proteins dumped into the body, you get a peripheral vasoconstriction, you activate brown fat, you start exchanging calories for heat. So now you're actually burning fat to try to return your body temperature to normal. You're in an amazing mood when you get out. So I just think it's one of those things that every one of us has access to. If you've got a cold shower, if you've got a bathtub, you can cold plunge. I was excited because Plunge built this, $120, cold plunge for us for this challenge, but by no means do you have to order one of those to participate. So the exciting thing about cold plunging is you can do it just about anywhere. It's really funny. I mean, some of the hotels that I frequent, like every time I go to New York, I go to the Peninsula in New York. And now when I check in, there's a little note in my system that they bring up a big cooler full of ice and they dump it into the hotel's tub there. And sometimes I'm there for 3 or 4 days and the water stays cold the entire time. So I just want to congratulate you guys on taking the step to join this Cold Plunge Challenge. This is amazing. I want to welcome Ryan. Is he on yet? Ryan, what's up? Awesome. Yeah, Ryan is the founder of Plunge, guys. He's the reason for the season right now. Are you at Cold Plunge headquarters?
I am.
Plunge headquarters.
Good morning. I'm here in the gym, getting geared up for the plunge. But yeah, man, you're excited to be with your community. We've been looking forward to this.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this too, guys. If you really want to see one of my favorite podcasts, look up the podcast that I did with Ryan. Ryan and I did a podcast. We go deep down the rabbit hole on cold plunging. I even flew out to their facility. I was absolutely overwhelmed. I mean, they have more than 100,000 square feet of manufacturing out there for these different plunges. So take it away, man. Walk us through some of the benefits of cold plunging. I would love it if we could actually see your place. Are you on an iPhone?
I'm on my iPhone here. Yes. We'll I'll go out in a second. We'll take a little tour of the factory, see them all being built and everything. Yeah, man. I mean, you summed it up so well, of everything that goes into cold plunging, all the different benefits. The thing that I mean, I'm not a scientist. I don't play one on podcasts.
I'm a scientist and I play them on a podcast a lot.
Yeah. I mean, just the ultimate, like, everyone being here your first time, or whether you've done hundreds of these, it's just the beautiful part is no matter where you're at, it works every single time. By getting in cold water, whether you get in for 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 3 minutes, you're going to see the benefits to it. And so that's why we do this. This is the first time we've ever done it with this big group of humans. So I'm really excited. There's nothing better. I cold plunge every single morning. And most of them are by myself, and they're awesome. But there's nothing better than when you're doing it with a bunch of different people, and you're seeing the smile, seeing the struggle that everyone's kind of going through in that first 30 seconds. And it's a good note for everyone when you get in today. Like, you're going to go first 30 to 45 seconds are going to be challenging, and that's what you want. You want that signal of your breath kind of being taken away, kind of lose your breath for a second. That's a good signal to the body. And you just focus in on that breath. And after that 30, 45 seconds, a little different for everyone, you'll start to feel yourself kind of calm, regulate. And that's the signal that you really want. Because everyone always asks, like, how long do you go for? What's a good time for plunging? And, I'm less on the minutes and more on the signals to the body. And like I said, you get in, you want to lose your breath, kind of get that shock like Gary was talking about. And then there's a point where you kind of feel your whole system regulate, and you'll feel your breath elongate a little bit more. And I always say you want to be able to choose to get out of the cold water as opposed to the water forcing you out. And you'll hit these different thresholds throughout the time while you're plunging. So really listen into the body of, and that might be a minute for you. That might be 45 seconds, but feel yourself like, okay, I have regulated. I am in a little bit more control of being, as opposed to being forced out of the water. And I think cold plunge is one of the most, it's the thing that I found the most. We cannot create artificial environments that stress us out. We go through life every single day, and when someone cuts us off in the road, there's a stressful moment, but we couldn't have made that up. We can't make someone, walk into a room and say, hey, scare me. You can't make that up. Cold plunging is the only thing that you can actually intentionally step into and go, okay, this is going to really stress me out, but I'm going to be able to regulate. So I think that's a real intention for today, is knowing, like, okay, I'm going to do something hard. We're going to do something hard. We're going to do it together. But we're all super capable of doing this. The body is resilient. The body can adapt to this. And we're going to do it together, and we're going to have a lot of fun.
No, this is awesome. I think it's a metaphor for life, almost like yoga. It teaches you to be calm in a state and an environment of stress. And, if you've done 3 minutes in cold water in the morning or more in cold water in the morning, and then you get a little nasty gram on Instagram, or your boss kind of upsets you, or your spouse says something off color, your kids are particularly irritating that morning, it just seems like nothing. You're like, this is nothing, man. I've already been in, 50-degree water for 3 minutes and I feel great. And I find that it's a real metaphor for life is learning to maintain that sense of calm while your body is actually under stress. Because if you get into that cold water up to your neck and your first reaction is not, I want to get the hell out of here, then you're not doing it right. So, I don't think I've ever, I mean, I've gotten in a cold plunge, not in the best mood, but I've never gotten out of a cold plunge, not in an amazing mood. I'm actually in an amazing mood right now because I got in a cold plunge right before this started. So I did a cold plunge right before our plunge challenge. Hey, this Dylan Pylon, he said, so excited to have my 30 grams of protein this morning, half teaspoon of Celtic salt, my bone broth, my hydrogen bottle is producing its second cycle. I've done my morning breath work. This will be my first cold plunge ever. I'm super excited and motivated from doing it all together. That is amazing.
That's the morning routine right there, Dylan.
Yeah. So, you know what I want to do, Ryan? I'm going to send. Hey, Dylan, Dylan Pylon, if you're listening, I'm sending you a pop-up plunge, unless you already have one. So if you'll just text your, we got your first and last name, but text us your address. We're going to get you out a plunge pop-up for free. I love that you're doing that for your morning routine. I want to reward you guys for that. I'm going to be giving away a bunch of swag gear and stuff today too. But Dylan just got our first free pop-up plunge. So Ryan, are you in the room that has the two plunges? Yeah. Oh, there it is. This is my favorite room. He's got a sauna.
Got our saunas, and we got the plunges here. So got our plunges. So our team's always getting in the cold water, whether on breaks, after work, before work.
He's not lying, dude. I've been to their headquarters, and they rotate through there, and they actually get in a plunge. I mean, what an awesome reward for your employees. Everybody gets along after they get out of the cold plunge.
fun fact: we do all of our final interviews in the sauna and cold plunge.
You really? That's great. I feel like there's an HR violation in there somewhere.
But it's worked out so far. And then we have a program for all of our team that cold plunges. They get bonuses and whatnot. So it's just something. It's a win-win. We get everyone plunging. Everyone's in a better mood. Everyone's healthier. And so yeah, I'm here in our facility. We have a couple of our different. These are our all-in units. We have a bunch of different ones, whether from the pop-up all the way up to these units here. But yeah, this is where I'm going to be plunging today, taking the plunge with all you guys. But we walk on out here. Right out here is we go out. We have our big factory out here and all the different.
Yeah, look at this place, guys. That is a serious operation.
We just go. It's just a bowl. It's cold plunge factory.
Wow.
We have all our chillers here for different product types. We do all the testing here, all the production, all the assembly. So if you're ever out in the West Coast here in Sacramento, California, hit us up. Come in, get a cold plunge with us. Come see where they're built. Come see where we ship them out, test them, and everything. So
I've been there, and show them the QC area, the quality control area, because these plunges are manufactured, and then they once they're done, they go to this special area, and there's a series of quality controls. They fill them with water, they circulate it, and test the motors. Yeah, let's see.
Yes, we have all of our different water beds. So every unit we recycle all the water here. All the water gets put through, and then it's almost like, you guys know the movie The Matrix? It almost looks like that. We just have dozens and dozens of units here, all being tested. So they get tested, obviously check for any leaks, make sure they're cooling at the right speed. All the team, here's a checklist right here. So the team gets it and they go through. But yeah, it's a really fun spot. It's kind of the final spot before they get approved and then sent out to shipping. But yeah, this team takes a lot of pride into the units that come through here and end up in people's homes across the world.
Yeah. And I think it's worth pointing out, guys, I mean, Ryan, this is a labor of love for Ryan and his partner. I mean, they actually both started in the float tank business. They had float tank spas, and then COVID hit, and they sort of reimagined things, and they started this small little company called Plunge. And they've innovated themselves over and over again. I mean, the thing that was really especially impactful for me was the amount of response they take to customer feedback. So customers didn't like, the position of the motor. They didn't like the sound the motor would make. They didn't like the depth of the plunge. They didn't like the width of the plunge. They didn't like the angle of the tub. And they took all of this customer feedback and they just kept innovating and innovating this tub. I mean, the one that I get in is called the Plunge XL. By no means am I telling you guys you have to have one of these fancy plunges, but the one I have is the Plunge XL. This thing is whisper quiet. I change the water every 4 or 5 months. It stays crystal clear. It's got a beautiful light in it. You can recline in the back. But when I went to the factory, I was just awestruck by the amount of pride and passion that goes into the work that they do. I don't just think it's the best plunge. I think it's the most reliable plunge. I think it has the quietest motor. I think it's the best bang for the buck, dollar wise. So you can actually see the size of that operation is unbelievable. When was your first cold plunge, Ryan?
My first cold plunge was like my first intentional cold plunge was back around 2015.
Intentional cold plunge? You did some unintentionally?
Water, gotten in a river and felt the benefits, but like actually like, okay, I'm going to do this cold plunge thing that this crazy guy named Wim Hof is telling the world about. He changed my life. He introduced me to, the power of cold water. And right around 2015, I did it and it was, life changing. Yeah, this company didn't start from, we were practitioners well before this thing ever came about. And, it was Mike and I, we started it in the garage and really grateful to, I never would have thought I'd be here with a group like you guys, doing a cold plunge challenge with thousands of people. But I pinch myself. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. What's really cool is, here in Miami, there's, these guys are a part of a revolution of sort of resetting the Miami day party. And, they have these events where, people gather and they cold plunge and they have coffee and they get together with a DJ. And I've been to a couple of these and there are 400 plus people there. And what was really cool to me was that you walk into this setting and they're in great hotels, they're on rooftops, they're in really cool pop-up places around the city. I'm in downtown Miami. And what's really cool is you have this beautiful crowd, relatively young crowd. And instead of being gathered around, partying and alcohol, they're gathered around cold plunging and coffee and exchanging ideas and networking. And it's a really cool environment. And if you walked into this party, you would think it was any other Miami Beach day party. There's a DJ. The only thing that's absent is drugs and alcohol and the nighttime. It's they have them in the mornings. And it's so cool to see that there's this undercurrent of biooptimization and longevity and anti-aging and optimal health. It's sort of becoming the in thing. Maybe people are drinking a lot less. They're being a lot more health conscious. And it was really cool to see so many people in their 20s and early 30s all getting together in a really safe environment and bathing suits and getting into cold plunges and having coffee and then networking together. And it was a cool icebreaker because instead of going to a networking event where everybody's kind of dressed up and wearing their fancy watches and their nice shoes and the women are all carrying great purses, it's hard to tell the socioeconomic difference between people when they're in board shorts and bikinis. And so everybody's kind of on the same plane, and the energy there was amazing. The exchange of ideas was amazing. I met so many young entrepreneurs that were doing super cool things in the Bitcoin space and the tech space and in the marketing space and in the social media space. And I just think that this pandemic in a lot of ways did us a big favor, woke us up to the importance of our own state of health, that we actually have to become citizen scientists ourselves. And modern medicine is not going to do it for us. We've got to take optimal health into our own hands. And so one of the ways that we do that is we learn interesting ways to hormetically stress the body and strengthen it. So I promise you, the next time you show up at the office at 9 o'clock in the morning, if you were in a cold plunge at 7 a.m. that morning, it's going to be your highest performing day of your career. And so it's just really cool to see people embracing these other ways of getting that stimulus, of being clean and clear and cognizant and awake. If you haven't, gotten out of a cold plunge yet and felt that dopamine, that sustained dopamine rise, you're in for a real treat. I'm really, really excited to do this. These guys also, can you just walk us in and show us the saunas?
Yeah,
this is wild too, because the room that he's in, there's another room just as big, where they're actually making saunas. And sometimes I talk about contrast therapy. Those of you that participated in my sleep challenge, one of the biggest bumps in sleep scores that we had was doing some contrast therapy, sauna, cold plunge, or really, really warm shower, followed by a really, really cold shower, and then getting in. Look at this. So tell us what's going on here, Ryan.
It's pretty noisy in here with all the guns going off and all the pressure tanks and everything. But here we have a QC approved sauna ready to go out right here. It's our XL. So we built it all from clear cedar from the ground up. We do the full manufacturing here in Sacramento, California. And this has been this was another product that we launched just out of kind of you guys, the customer. A lot of our customers had the cold plunge and they were like, would you guys ever build a sauna? And so we took it on, spent about 2 years designing it. And this is the final state here. So have all the saunas going out. We have 2 different types. We'll have a 3rd type launching later this year.
Do you have one that's fully assembled?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys can hear me. It's
I can hear you. Do you have one that's fully assembled?
We have actually this morning they're all crated up.
It's really cool. It's just got a pitched roof, and it's narrow at the base and wider at the back. It's a really cool one.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jacqueline Nicholson says, I've been doing the grounding, morning sun, and a cold plunge 2 to 3 times per day since April. I'm 57 and I feel better than I have most of my adult life. I'm a leukemia survivor from 2017. That is amazing. Jacqueline, I am going to send you some swag gear, some Ultimate Human swag. So if you just connect with my team in the chat, I'm going to send you some female workout gear. I'm going to send you an Ultimate Human trucker. And if we have her size, I'll even send you some of my Ultimate Human, the hottest selling item on Amazon, sold out around the world, collector series, limited edition, Ultimate Human flip-flop. So you're getting a whole swag pack, Jacqueline. Thank you for sharing that with us. Ryan, it's so awesome, man. So many people are like coming in and telling me how cold plunging has changed their life. Jenny Martinez is asking, please talk about how to resist that initial urge to jump out. I can't seem to overcome it. You want to take that one, Ryan?
Yeah. So I would encourage, that's totally normal. First, that's the response we want. So it starts with the mindset, like, okay. And also, if it is too cold and you can't stay in, raise the temperature up a bit. A lot of it's 60 degrees below and you're first starting out, just go there. Get an easy thermometer, fill it up with a little more warm water if you need to. I would just say, if you cannot stay in and get through that first, I would say really focus 10 breaths, raise the temperature up a bit. And when you're doing it, what I really like to focus on is my exhale being twice as long as my inhale.
Great point. Yeah, and exhale through a straw.
My system up.
Yeah, exhale through a straw. One of the things that I do is I'll show you guys today when we actually do the actual cold plunge itself. When Ryan and I and the rest of you guys get in the cold plunge here in a few minutes, is I actually, right before I step in, I do 4 obnoxiously deep breaths. On the 4th breath, I breathe in as much as I can, and I step into the cold plunge, and I go, and I exhale, and I sit all the way down to my neck. And what I find is by focusing on my breath, I'm not as focused on that overwhelming shock from the water. So I'll breathe out, an inhale 3 times obnoxiously. Then on the fourth inhale, I step into the cold plunge and I sit all the way down to my neck. But Ryan brings up a really good point. Again, I haven't seen any research that colder is better or longer is better. Technically, a cold plunge is anything below 58 degrees Fahrenheit. So you can start at 58 or 60 degrees Fahrenheit, work your way down to between 50 and 55 degrees and stay there. That's fine. Remember, we're not trying to become cold adaptive. We are trying to cold shock the body. We don't want to become an Eskimo, right? We don't want the body to begin to start to adapt to cold. That's why most cold plunge, I recommend 3 minutes minimum, 6 minutes maximum, right? 3 to 5 minutes is perfect, 6 minutes maximum, and get out. You've gotten all the benefits. You've released all the dopamine. You've spiked all the endorphins. You've had a maximum vasoconstriction. You've had the maximum activation of brown fat. The cold shock proteins have been released from your liver. So by staying in there longer and really starting to shiver and potentially lower your core body temperature, there's not a lot of benefits to that. Shock your body, get all 5 of those benefits, and then get out. And you can slowly work your way down to lower temperatures. Don't, look at some of these folks on Instagram that are getting in 35, 37 degree water and going underwater with a snorkel. I actually think that that's quite dangerous. Remember, I talk about this all the time. Your brain is only this far inside the surface of your skull. It is not good to freeze it. It is not good to bake it. So not too cold for too long. But I think that focusing on your breath is a great thing. And then try to at least get to 30 seconds. And then your next time, try to get to a minute. And then I think once you make it to a minute, you're there.
Yeah, the big thing I liken cold plunging to a workout routine. So, we're building up resiliency in our immune system, strengthening our nervous system. Those are 2 areas we're working on. But we also have to look at it when we're starting this journey, those might not be strong. So it's similar to if you haven't worked out in 5 years' time, I'm not going to go put you through a CrossFit workout. And in fact, that would probably be a negative to your body and could hurt you. So you want to treat the cold water that way too. It's like your first workout back. It's like, hey, let's just sweat. Let's get a little resistance training going. Let's get some steps in. That's the starting point, and it's the long game. We don't end a workout and be like, all right, I'm done working out forever. Cold plunging is very similar to other systems within our body. This is a long game we're playing, and when we start out, just do something that's attainable, that's achievable, that stresses you out a little. We do want that stress response, but there is a threshold that's too far. So it's a journey of kind of learning our body. So really, when you're starting out, don't press it too hard. I saw a question here. Someone's going through some sickness, severe bronchitis or COVID. And we've seen some real results from people with COVID. But the thing I would say, and we've seen other side to it as well, but the key is starting out at a temperature that's manageable. Don't go jumping in at 39 degrees, especially if your immune system is compromised in this time. It's like you want to start out at a much higher temperature and learn to breathe and kind of relax and regulate yourself through that.
Yeah, that's great advice. Dawn says, I've been having a 4-minute cold plunge shower each morning for 2 weeks now. And she says, I hate getting in, but I love how I feel afterwards. My son also has a daily cold plunge showers. I'm trying to talk my husband into it. I keep telling him how great I feel afterwards. Awesome, Dawn. And, usually I find it's the other way around. Usually it's the husband trying to talk the wife into cold plunging. So good for you for leading the charge. I'm also going to send you an Ultimate Human swag pack. So that is awesome. And just like I said, you don't need to spend a lot of money on a fancy cold plunge. 4-minute cold showers is a great way to start, experiencing the benefits of cold plunging. That's why, when Ryan decided to do this pop-up plunge, there are pipes on the outside of that plunge, so you could upgrade to a chiller if you wanted to, or if you decided that it wasn't for you, you're only in for 120 bucks, 150 bucks. And I really like that idea, and I appreciate that Plunge did that for us, so we could get as many people experiencing this as possible. You notice the one common theme between all of the people, commenting in this chat, and this is why I love for everybody to just see the chat. That's why I love having the live Q&A. Is that so far no one is having a negative experience. right? People are having difficult time staying in because it's too cold, or a hard time taking that first, plunge into cold water. But the people that actually go through it and do it, whether it's a cold shower or putting ice in their tub or getting into an actual cold plunge, they're just saying it's one of the things that really, really changed their life. So for you first timers, listen to, what these guys are experiencing, when they went through their first cold plunge. I actually just left my favorite place on earth, which is a small town in Colorado called Pitkin. It's outside of Gunnison. My wife and I have a little retreat there in the mountains. We have a log cabin, and it's completely off the grid. Solar fed electricity, glacier fed spring water, well and septic. If you follow me on Instagram, you see that I got deer coming up in the morning eating my flowers. I got a little freeloading fox named Freddie, and I say he's a freeloader because it's a very one-way relationship. And he'll sometimes come up and take ham right out of your hand. And what's so cool is he'll take a piece of ham, and then he goes out in the field and he catches a field mouse, and he brings a warm, soggy field mouse up, and he drops it on my the step of my cabin. I guess it's his way of saying thank you. So when I'm there, though, there's running glacier streams. And I'll tell you what, man, if you get into running cold water like that, it's about 40, 43 degrees. It is just so exhilarating to be outside in the sunlight, in the woods, and jumping into one of those streams. It's absolutely my drug of choice. So Ryan, you got two plunges behind you. Oh, you've got the sauna in that room. Can you take us over and show us the fully assembled one?
So I got one sauna in here that hasn't hit the market yet, that our marketing team will crush me if I show it on this video.
Oh, they are? All right. Are you gonna show it anyway?
This is our XL here. Yeah, we're very, very excited on this. It's tough to tell in this room, but we did some cool things on it. Actually made not that a bunch of people are into it, but we made the door wide enough and all the benches could flip up on the inside. So you could actually put like a stationary bike in there to do some heat adaptive training. If you're into that, you can also, it's long enough to do yoga in here. So we wanted to be kind of multifunctional. So you can crank to 230 if you want that super high heat traditional sauna experience. But if you want to do it at like a lower temperature, 110, and do some workouts in there, some kettlebell swings, some stationary bike work, it's created for that. We made the back at about a 15-degree angle back there. I don't know if you can really see it, but it's more ergonomic. It's the only sauna that's ergonomic friendly. So you can kind of get your back. You're not at like a full upright position or even like a curled barrel position. We're really proud. We spent a lot of time on this design work, and it's been great.
That's awesome. I mean, I have the previous version to that myself, and it has the slope back. So when you go inside, you don't feel claustrophobic at all. So we've got about 10 minutes until we're transitioning to our cold plunge challenge, guys. So get your gear on. Ladies, get your bathing suits on. Guys, get your board shorts on, or as my podcast director calls it, water pants. Put your water pants on. And we've got about 10 minutes until our first, group cold plunge. Can you talk about doing a cold shower versus a plunge? Should you stand there or move around to allow the water to hit various parts of your body, front and back, and still do the breathing? So here's how I recommend that you do a cold shower. So first of all, go in, do whatever you're going to do for your shower, lather up, soap, your conditioner, your body wash, do that at your regular temperature. And then step out of the water and turn the shower as cold as it will go. Let the shower run for 30 seconds to a minute so it's nice and cold. And then what I do is I do the same breathwork technique, right? On your fourth breath, step all the way into that stream of water and let the water hit you right in the face on your forehead. Make sure that the shower hits you straight in the face. This is especially important if you're doing a cold shower, because this will immediately activate the mammalian dive reflex. And believe it or not, it will instantly calm you down. It will help you shift from sympathetic to that parasympathetic state. You have no choice over this. And so you breathe out while that water is hitting you. And then I would stand in that position for about 15 to 30 seconds. And then I would slowly turn my body around and I would let it hit the back of my neck and run down my back. Once you've done that, and now you get to about 1 minute, you're over the shock, you're over that urge to hyperventilate. And then I actually start reaching my arms up into the shower and trying to find any area on my body that's actually still warm, and trying to have the water hit that area of my body. You'd be shocked how fast the areas of your body that are directly in contact with that water adjust, and how you go from being panic stricken and wanting to jump out to actually going, wow, this actually feels really good. And I push my hands right up into the stream of water, let it run under your arms, let it run down the sides of your body, start turning around, start trying to find those areas of your body that are still warm, and let the water hit it. And then I would always end by putting my face back into the stream of water and letting it run over my head, and then step back out and get out and dry off, and you will feel amazing. And again, just like with cold plunging, you can start with 30 seconds to a minute, work your way up to 3 minutes. Not a lot of benefits you're going to get from a cold shower after about that amount of time. Hector Reyes asks, should we do the breath work before or after the cold plunge? Actually, neither. I would do the breath work in the cold plunge. So I do the 4 breaths. I get into the cold plunge. Your actual breath work routine, do that right when you wake up. I do it within 30 minutes of waking every morning. But to be hyper specific about the breath work technique that I use in the plunge is it's called box breathing. And everybody has a method that they like, best. If you're like hyper vigilant and a perfectionist like my wife, she gets stressed out doing box breathing because it's a 4-second inhale, 4-second hold, 4-second exhale, and a 4-second hold. And she gets stressed out that she's not getting exactly 4 seconds. So if you're one of those people, just focus, like Ryan said, on an inhale, and having your exhale be twice as long going out. So breathe out through a straw. That way you're not striving for perfection in box breathing. For those of you that are not hyper perfectionists, box breathing is a great technique. It actually was perfected by the U.S. Special Forces as a way to reduce brain catecholamines, which is a fancy way of saying to reduce the fight or flight response and to lower the adrenaline response in our body. So right before a combat mission or a very intensive engagement, they will do box breathing, which is 4-second inhale, 4-second hold, 4-second exhale, 4-second hold, 4-second inhale. And you just keep tracing that box, right? For those of you that don't want to trace that box in your mind, 4 seconds, 4 seconds, 4 seconds, and 4 seconds, do the technique that Ryan said, and just focus on making your exhale twice as long as your inhale. I find that really focusing on your breathing allows you to tune out all of the rest of your environment. You're going to see me do that today when we get in the cold plunge. And I've got the plunge out on my balcony right now. I've got a bunch of ice stacked up out there. We've dumped some in and made it really cold. And as soon as I get in there, I'm going to focus on my breathing, and I'm either going to take a big inhale breath and breathe out for twice as long through an imaginary straw, or I'll do the box breathing technique. I find that both of those work really well. What do you think, Ryan? Did you mute yourself?
I think I got muted. I think, yes, I would say for breath, like while you're in, just keep it simple. Don't overthink it. Just, your mind's going to want to, it's going to tell you, get out, get out.
Get out, get out.
It's going to happen. I'm telling everyone, going to let you in. It's what's going to happen, and it's going to, focus in on that breath. I would also say the distinction between showers and full body immersion, it is a little different. You are going to get that dopamine, that rush of energy on both of them. That's going to happen. But it is a little different in how your body adapts, where the shower actually, I think it's a little even more challenging because you're getting this contrast where it's only a part of your body that's getting that cold water hitting it. where the rest of the body's kind of not being hit with the cold water, and you can't actually, it's a little tougher to relax into it. So just take a note for everyone that's doing the shower. It is a little different experience than when you're full body submerged in and kind of down regulate yourself. A shower is it's a little more challenging to calm yourself in there. So just a distinction for everyone that's, if you're doing the shower today compared to a pop-up barrel, or you filled a trough up, or you have a plunge at your house, they are subtly different experiences.
Dude, I love what Jenny says. She says, ladies, it's great for your hair as well. You will notice your hair is smooth and shiny. Amazing side benefit. That's amazing. You know, it's so funny. Like usually when I'm trying to convince women to get in cold plunging, it's like peripheral vasoconstriction. They don't care. Cold shock protein. They don't care. Your thermostat, your dopamine raise. But then I go, it's really good for fat loss. They're like, all right, I'm in. and that's usually the catalyst to get them in. So now I've got another one. It's great for your hair. I didn't know that, Jenny. That's awesome. I really want to congratulate everybody that's doing this for the first time. It's plunge time. We're going to be doing a 3-minute plunge today. So I'm going to head outside to my pop-up, and my team is going to be switching cameras. So give me about a minute to get back online. I'm just going to transition from here to the other camera that we have on the plunge. Guys, it's time. This is why you're here. So get into your shower. By the way, if you are showering or cold plunging your plunging suit, turn your camera off. I actually had that happen before on a challenge where people forget they have the camera on. So, but if you're in board shorts or bikini, then by all means participate. I want all of us to see it. You can hold the camera up. You can have your kids hold the camera up, or your husbands, your wives. So give me about 1 minute, guys. I'm going to transition to outside, and then we're going to do this together. 3-minute cold plunge. Here we go. And Ryan, I see he's set up too. Oh. All right, guys, here we go. This is the moment we've all been waiting for. Just for those of you that are joining us and don't have a pop-up plunge, you're doing this in your bathtub, or if you're doing it in your shower, great. These bags of ice were about $1.80. So 3 of those bags of ice is going to run you about $6. Another trick is to just, if that's not in your budget, just take Tupperware, fill it full of water, and freeze that Tupperware, and just put the blocks of ice into your bathtub. So it doesn't have to be an expensive endeavor. Oh boy, that's nice and chilly. We're gonna make it a little bit more exciting. So I'm gonna put a little bit more ice in here and get it down just a little bit more. Now I can't see Ryan, but I assume he's by his plunge as well.
I'm here.
All right. Now it's nice and chilly. Oh, there's Ryan. All right. I'm gonna make it really nice and chilly. Ryan's got his shirt off. He's ready to go. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do, guys. I'm gonna do those 4 breaths, remember? And on the 4th breath, I'm gonna inhale, and I'm gonna step into the plunge and exhale until I'm all the way down. All right? Ready? Here we go. Woo! We're in. Okay, so now that I'm in, let's just focus on our breath. Nice big breath in, and exhale slowly. Nice breath in, and exhale slowly. What's that? So you can get the mammalian dive reflex by taking your blue light blocking glasses off and going underwater.
Okay.
Woo! Activate that mammalian dive reflex. Wow, I feel amazing. So we're at, can somebody give me a time? on my team? We're about 30 seconds. Okay. So we're at 45 seconds. So guys, stick with it. If you make it to a minute, you'll make it all the way to 3 minutes. If you feel like you have to get out, then go ahead and get out. You've already made it 45 seconds. You're creeping up on a minute. So just focus on your breath. Woo. Deep inhale. Exhale through a straw. Nice deep inhale.
Halfway there.
Exhale through a straw. You are halfway, guys. We're at a minute and a half. Another trick is you can leave your hands out. I know a lot of people get really cold fingers and really cold toes. Sometimes you can even order those booties online that go over your ankles and your toes if you have a real problem with circulation. Sometimes I leave my hands out. Sometimes I pull my hands in. But leaving your hands out also seems to help people, especially first-time cold plungers. Really seems to, it's funny, I'm like short of breath. It really helps cold plungers because, you know, then your hands are not aching, gives you one less thing to worry about. So what's that? Yeah, I mean, look, guys, I'm 6'3", and I'm all the way down to my neck in this plunge. I love this little thing. I mean, for 120 bucks with your discount, you got a plunge, and then somewhere around here is the inlet valves that actually hook up to the chiller. So at another point down the road, when you win the local lottery, you can actually buy the chiller and just hook it right up to the plunge, and you got yourself a plunge. Okay, so then let's just go back to our breathing. Nice deep breath in, and exhale through a straw. Nice deep breath in, and exhale through a straw. And guess what? We're there. We made it. 3 minutes, guys. Woo! Woo! You ought to feel really good about yourself, especially if you're a first timer. You should be in a great mood right now. You probably feel amazing like I do. Woo! I got my plunge towel right here. You know what? I'm going to send out a couple of these too. If you're a first timer and you made it all 3 minutes, I want you to text in all caps, I made it, with a big exclamation point. And if you text, I made it, into the chat, then the first 10 people, I'm going to send you one of these plunge towels so that you can tell the world that you just did your first plunge. How you feeling, guys? Text in the chat. Let me know how you're feeling. Don't go over to your computer with wet fingers. That was amazing.
Everyone finishing up.
Just think that you can access this every day of your life for free. Do I feel like my voice has risen a little bit? Like I'm a little bit more excited? That's how you feel getting out of the cold plunge. How you doing, Ryan?
I'm doing great. And this is a good opportunity for everyone. Do some air squats, maybe a couple push-ups. If you got a little rebounder, just kind of get that blood flowing back through the body. And this is a good time to kind of start to warm the body back up. But enjoy this feeling. And my chat, the secondary challenge I have for everyone over this next 3 days, we go on this journey. See how you feel. See how your mood is. Check in with yourself at night. Be like, hey, how was my day today? Did I feel a little bit better? Was it? And let's see where we're at after 3 days, because that's the magic of this. Yeah, we feel incredible now, but the real goal is that we have incredible days and we feel great throughout the day. So check in, and we'll do the check-ins throughout the week. But dude, honored and grateful to be plunging with everyone on this feed here.
Ryan, I can't tell you how much I appreciate it, brother. I mean, your plunge has changed my life. It's changed the life of thousands and thousands of people. You know, I appreciate the entrepreneurialism, you know, starting from scratch, you know, starting in your garage and building it into this beautiful company that you have that is really, you know, customer focused. So I couldn't be more proud to be affiliated with you guys and to be doing this challenge with you guys. And
I do recommend your plunge to everybody that I come across. And now you've got a personal interaction with the founder, the owner. He's not being paid to be here, guys. He's here because he wants everybody to join it. And if you notice, we're not hard selling cold plunges. We just want you guys to know the benefits of cold water therapy. So, guys, thank you so much for joining this challenge. Remember, we're back again tomorrow. So thank you so much for joining this challenge. For all my rule breakers and VIPs, we're going to take a break until 11:15. I'm going to let you guys, give you some time to change and dry off, fuel up, and then come back for the Q&A portion of the call. I'm going to extend the call till 12:15. I always want to give my rule breakers time to ask questions. Guys, if you're not a VIP, now's the time to join my VIP group. Jump in. Listen, if you don't get more than $47 worth of benefit, I will give you your money back. I want to be as interactive and direct with you as possible. And, the big benefits are when we can interact personally and I can answer your questions. But for the rest of you guys, thank you so much for giving me your time today. I hope that you got as much out of this as I did. And I'll see the rest of you in 15 minutes in the Rule Breakfast VIP. Woo!
Fun.
For those of you that this was your first cold plunge, congratulations, or your first really cold shower, or your first time getting in your tub with ice, congratulations, guys. I hope you made it the full 3 minutes. I feel amazing right now. I'm still got a little bit of that chill, and I feel absolutely amazing. I want to bring up Charlie, 71-year-old Charlie's message when you get a chance, because I want you guys to see that. So Charlie says, I'm 71 and I've been doing morning breath work and first light while grounding every morning. And I started all off with a 3-minute cold shower. I'm in Florida, so it's not as challenging as I'd like it to be. As I would like. The water in the summer is 70 degrees, but I still think it's awesome. And I plan on buying a cold plunge as soon as I can. This routine has been amazing on my energy level. Thanks for all you do. Charlie, I'm going to do that for you. And I'm going to send you one of the pop-up plunges. So Charlie, I hope you're still listening. And if you are, and you're also one of my rule breakers, 71 years old, he's starting cold plunging now. One of the things I want you guys to notice about everything that he just said was that nothing in that entire diatribe costs you a penny, right? He's taking a cold shower, he's doing sunlight, he's doing grounding, he's doing breath work. All of those things are absolutely free. And that's what I love about those techniques. I get a lot of flack online for saying, oh, you're always trying to sell supplements or sell gene testing or sell fancy equipment. I'm actually not. I think that you can get a lot of these benefits by touching the surface of the earth, by doing breath work, by exposing your skin to sunlight in the morning, and by taking a cold shower. And none of those things is going to add 1 penny to your budget. So I think it's astounding when I see people in their 70s starting to experience these kinds of things and really living again and realizing that sometimes when we just put a little hormetic stress on the body, we get so many benefits. So Charlie, I'm sending you a pop-up plunge. So congratulations. That is awesome and it's inspiring. And if you guys get a chance, follow Ryan or the Plunge. Just thank him for his time today. He's built an incredible company. Here's a guy that basically lost his business during COVID because of because he had a float tank business. Started Plunge, and now they're a 9-figure company with 150,000 square feet of warehouse space. They're producing those cold plunges right here in the USA. And so I'm a huge fan of theirs. When I see guys like that start anything from their garage, it's just inspiring to see them building a company doing more than 100 million a year in revenue and really focused on the client experience. So let's get to your questions, guys. Let's start throwing some people up on stage. As always, just try to keep it to 1 question per person so I can get through as many questions as possible. Remember, medical questions are kind of a no-no. Make sure your camera is on so I can see you. Remember, I'm not a physician. I know you get tired of hearing this. I'm not licensed to practice medicine. I'll do my best to answer your questions, but please don't take it or construe it as medical advice. Hey, there we go.
Hi.
Here, Maggie.
I've
Maggie, I think
been on once before, but I have a question. And first of all, I've done the gene test. I've done the blood test. I've talked to the people there, and they've helped me with all that stuff, and it's working great. I, for 9 months, have been doing the morning, the afternoon, all that stuff. And I just bought the tub. I didn't get it together in time, but my question is there somebody at 10X that can help me with microbacteria I have in my lungs? I need somebody there that knows that, because the person I was talking to about the blood test and stuff didn't really understand it. It's a pulmonology thing, I guess. You know
Yes.
what I'm talking about. It's
So you
got
want
a
to ask to
fancier
be
name.
put-
I just don't remember it.
Yes, you want to be asked to be put on Dr. Sarda's schedule. It's pronounced Dr. Sarda, but it's spelled Carda, C-A-R-D-A. Dr. Carrie Sarda. She's a board certified OBGYN, but she has experience with mold spores, mycotoxins, those sorts of things. You might also want to look into nebulizing colloidal silver. Nebulizing colloidal silver. You can get a nebulizer at Walgreens or at CVS.
I have
They're
one of
pretty
those.
inexpensive. You put the fluid in these things, you know, it's like the Vicks vapor rub kind of
Yep.
thing, and it nebulizes it, turns it into not a steam, it's room temperature, but it micronizes whatever you nebulize. And nebulizing colloidal silver is actually very, very good for the respiratory system. Highly, highly caustic to bacteria and viruses. It also will help reduce fluid in the lungs. And
All of that.
very little downsides to that. You can order colloidal silver online. Even if you Google nebulizing colloidal silver,
Okay.
Colloidal, colloidal, then you can start to nebulize that. The instructions for nebulizing it, you can get easily online. And that's one of the best ways to treat respiratory distress and damage caused by bacteria, fungal, mold spore, mycotoxin, and viral pathogens.
Sounds good. I'm a Florida resident, and the summer, the water is way too hot in the shower. So
Yeah,
I did buy one of those little plunge tubs. I'll get it going this afternoon.
that's
Thank
amazing.
you,
And you
thank
just get some
you,
ice in
thank
there, and you can get it going this afternoon. I was just in one, so that's
do it.
incredible. I love to hear that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for your question. Hey guys. Hey Tim, you're muted, brother.
Hey, good morning. You hear me now? Sorry.
I can hear you now, buddy.
Okay, I've been doing it since April. I'm 68. I love every minute of it. That's like my time in the morning. I do pretty much everything you say. I end up with the cold plunge, but I do it out of my bathtub. The Michigan, I'm up here mainly in the summers. It is about 65 degrees. It was 52. I'm getting a chiller, but I'm wondering about the chlorine in our tap water. Is that okay for the time being? You would rather not have that?
Well, so if you're not filtering your water, you know, one of the things I would invest in is a good water filtration system, depending on what your budget's like. Echo Water has one that's about $3,000, and it's a whole home system. Or you can actually get an under the counter system, and you can fill your bathtub with buckets of water. You know, my preference would be if you can avoid it, not to do that. But remember, chlorine also evaporates. So which is a reason why, you know, in commercial pools, you have to keep applying chlorine, because it actually does. Chlorine will actually turn into a gas, and it will actually vaporize out of the water. So if you actually if you run the cool water, you let the water stand for about 25 or 30 minutes, a lot of that chlorine will actually evaporate off. One of the dangerous things about drinking tap water is that usually we haven't given the water any time to evaporate off the chlorine. So you actually have fluoride and chlorine, both of which can go easily transdermal. I don't know if you saw the Instagram post that I did, but I actually had my cameraman, who's slightly off camera right here, as my guinea pig, and I took two glasses of unfiltered water, and I put them on the counter in front of the camera, and I had him take 4 fingers and put them down into one of those glasses and hold his fingers in that glass for a minute. And then he pulled his fingers out, and I tested both glasses for chlorine. Now, they both came from the same tap. The one that he had put his fingers in tested negative for chlorine, and the other one tested at a very high parts per million for chlorine. And And the reason for that was because in just that 60 seconds, all that chlorine from the tap water went instantly transdermal, went right into the bloodstream. We are very, very good at absorbing things from our water. So if you're showering in that, if you're bathing in that, if you're drinking that, you're getting a lot of fluoride and chlorine. So give it about 15, 20 minutes and let a lot of that evaporate off, and then the parts per million will drop and you can get in then.
Okay, that's great. And you were saying that your tank, you don't change for like 4 weeks or so? You add
Yeah,
anything to it, or the
Plunge.
filter works?
I have what's called the Plunge XL, the big white version, the ones that you saw if you were on earlier, and when Ryan was walking through his warehouse, I have one of those larger Plunge tubs, and it has a motor that circulates the water. I don't put anything in it. I filter the water before it goes in. I don't put anything in there. I don't use any of the chemicals. Every once in a while, I'll put some Dead Sea salt in there and mix it up. So you can put magnesium chloride, Epsom salt in there, but I only change the water every 4, maybe 5 months. It stays crystal clear for months with that filter. And then I'll take the filter out, I'll spray the filter off and clean it really well and put it back in. And then once a year, you just swap out the filter. It's pretty easy on maintenance, and it just plugs into a regular 110.
All right, thank you so much. I'll let you go. I'm doing the genetics test, waiting for my results. So I love your program. Thanks again.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you for your testimony.
Am I unmuted now, Gary?
Hey there, I can hear you.
Okay, it's Ron Ecker. I have a question for you on, I'm going to spell it because I don't know how to say this correctly. It's CONOLIDINE. Do you know anything about that?
Say it one more time. Sorry, I had a hard time hearing you. I'm listening on a computer, but looking at the camera. Say it one more time.
It's CONOLIDINE.
Choline. So, okay,
Yeah.
What's the question?
So I saw something on it, and the person that owns the company or whatever said to take this every day or whatever. I thought it was for pain. What do you know about that?
I don't know much about that at all. If you'll text that into the chat, I'll actually do a deep dive for you. I'll pull up my PubMed research library and talk to my clinical team and see if they have any experience with that. I'm not familiar with that. I mean, for what kind of pain? Joint pain?
Well, so I have bone on bone in my shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
So, I was interested in it for that. And then I also wake up I have really bad arthritis in my body. So,
okay. So my suggestion would be, in graduating levels of cost, would be look into the peptide BPC 157. Stands for Body Protection Compound 157. It's extremely good for joint pain, extremely good. No downsides. It's amino acid peptide. It's actually a gastric pentadecapeptide. So it's actually tolerated very well orally. You can take it in capsule form. You can get it from a company called Integrative Peptides. They sell direct to the consumer. You can also get it from Peptide Sciences. They also sell directly to the consumer. Take twice the dose that they recommend. It's an amino acid peptide. The second thing that I would really consider is cold plunging. I would really consider cold plunging, not cold showers, but cold plunging. One of the issues with arthritis is the compromised area of circulation inside and immediately outside of the joint. So if we can actually get inflammatory factors out, the cytokines, the histamines, the bradykinins, the prostaglandin E2s, if we can get those out and we can get fresh oxygenated blood in, that really helps. The third thing I would consider, and if you send an email to my team, is a localized high-powered red light therapy device. I have one that comes in a strap. You can actually put the strap around your knees. You can put the strap over your shoulders. You can put it, you can lay it over your hips. It's very high intensity red light. It's not very expensive, like a full red light therapy bed, or the panels that are thousands of dollars. And this is focalized high intensity red light, and it is actually really good for circulation, really good for inflammation, and incredible for pain.
And I will say this about the cold plunge. It's made a huge difference for me in the mornings. I've been
Yes.
doing it since January, and the cold plunge has been marvelous as far as the pain, but it doesn't take it away good. But the cold plunge has really been pretty much a lifesaver, because otherwise I would hurt throughout the whole day.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, like, if you are to actually measure the difference between the sustained amount of pain relief that you get from cold plunging versus the pain relief that you would get from narcotics or NSAIDs, like a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory like Advil or Tylenol, you would find for certain that the cold plunge gave you better relief for longer, with none of the downsides. Right. And we know that, we know the downsides of narcotic painkillers. We know the downsides of NSAIDs and their effect on the liver, Tylenol's effect on the liver when you're taking it chronically. So I really commend you for that. I would really think about adding the peptide.
And that peptide, does that have any downside to it?
No, it's an amino acid peptide. If you look at the safety profile of BPC 157, it's incredible. There have been millions of scripts written for BPC 157. It's one of the most studied peptides on the planet. It's an amino acid sequence. It's actually synthesized from gastric juice. It stands for Body Protection Compound 157. The FDA recently pulled it from the market. You can still get it in a what they call nutritional grade, not pharmaceutical grade. I think it was actually dipping into the pain pill market, but it actually, it's known for recovery, for joint pain, for muscle soreness. It actually calls your own platelets to the site, and platelets carry growth factors, and the more growth factors I can get to a joint that's inflamed, the better off it is for that area of the body. If you want to research it, just Google benefits of BPC 157. Make sure you capitalize BPC dash 157, and you'll see all kinds of benefits from this peptide.
And I can take it every day, or no?
You can take it every day. Yep.
Great.
You'll never build a tolerance or a desensitization to it. Remember, there's sort of, not to oversimplify, but you can put things into two broad categories, right? Metabolites as a broad category. Foods are metabolites, right? Steak, chicken, vegetables. What is a metabolite? That metabolite is something your body recognizes. It has an enzyme for it. It can break it down. It can not only break it down and utilize it, but it can also eliminate the waste from breaking it down. And so metabolites are things your body recognizes and does not desensitize to. So food, for example, fits in this metabolite category. We never desensitize to food, right? You can eat 1,500 to 2,000 calories a day for the rest of your life. It's not like the longer you live, the more calories you need. You don't build a tolerance to it. Non-metabolites are things your body doesn't recognize. And when it doesn't recognize them, chemicals, synthetics, pharmaceuticals, it cannot break them fully down, in which causes a side effect, right? And there's no such thing really as a side effect. It's just an effect. It's non-intended effect. So when you take things, for example, that are chemicals for pain, then you get the benefit of reducing pain, but you get the downside of it cannot metabolize all of the waste product from that compound. And this is where you get liver damage, or you get inflammation, or you get swelling, or you build a tolerance. So that, one of the things about chemicals, synthetics, and pharmaceuticals is that over time, the body desensitizes to them. It builds a tolerance to them. So amino acid peptides are not like that. And so that's why I'm such a huge fan of peptides in general.
Great. Thanks for that, Gary. Appreciate it.
Yeah, awesome. I think it's David. If you see me rubbing myself, I'm just cold. I don't have like ant bites or anything, but I'm like just a little chilly.
All right. So
hey,
can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Okay, great. I'm over by Telluride, Colorado. Always appreciate you. You've changed my life. Well, your information has changed my life. I have applied it.
Thank you.
But I'm calling on behalf of my sister. I'm looking for a referral. So she is kind of the poster child of the very reason you left the insurance industry. So she's 61, bipolar. She's got third-degree kidney failure. She smokes. She's got migraines, and she's on over 10 medications.
Oof.
And I am watching her die, basically. Like I can tell by just her eyes and everything that she has a very, very short road.
Yeah.
And I at least want to give her access to doctors that could give her a different opinion, because all they're doing
Absolutely.
is, and I don't know who to go to.
I really recommend a doctor out of Tampa. His name is Dr. David Minkoff. Minkoff. He's been on a number of our challenges. I think he was on our last challenge. And he's been on our fasting challenges both times. He's the physician that invented the perfect aminos. He's got about 83 practitioners in his business, in his clinic there. He's a functional medicine physician. And he's one of my personal mentors and an iconic figure to me. I've also done a podcast with him. If you want to look up that podcast, Dr. David Minkoff and I did an amazing podcast. He specializes in multi-complex autoimmune disorders, also in multi-complex pharmaceutical disorders. When I say pharmaceutical disorders, I mean people that have been on complicated mixtures of different medications for cardiovascular, autoimmune, circulatory, mood disorders, all at the same time. Because these types of people, you can get them off these medications, but you can't drop them off a cliff. It takes a real special expertise. He's also very, very, very well versed in minerals, amino acids, vitamins, nutrients. And he can do a pretty comprehensive blood test on your sister and make some really good lifestyle and supplement recommendations.
And do I just
Dr.
reach out to the
David
clinic
Minkoff.
directly, or is there a back door since you're referring him?
Yeah, when you contact them on the website, just to let them know that you're referred by Gary Brecka, and you'll go right to the top of the list.
Okay, great. I appreciate that. And then my other thing, really briefly, is there more than one COMT gene?
There's not more than one COMT gene. There is more than one COMT allele, or what we call SNP. So not to get hyper specific. So you have a gene, COMT, catechol O-methyltransferase, and then you have different subsets of that gene, right? You have different alleles or different SNPs. The SNP stands for single nucleotide polymorph. So for example, MTHFR has two expressions, C677T and A1298C. One is highly associated with anxiety. One is highly associated with anxiousness. With COMT, you have the same thing. If you do any research on COMT, you're going to see that there is what's called a MET version, a MET-val version, or a val-val version. Again, not to get too complicated, but
Right.
So you have one gene mutation. You can either get it from one parent or you can get it from both parents. When you get it from one parent, the gene works about 40% of the time. The symptoms are generally mild to moderate. And then when you get it from both parents, they're moderate to severe. And so the manifestation of COMT is, in broad terms, is what we call warriors or worriers. Warriors are people that have a very, very, very low fear response, meaning they quickly metabolize fear-based neurotransmitters. They quickly break down catecholamines. If you break down catecholamines very quickly, then you actually crave stimulus. You crave dopamine. And so you actually lack fear. These are people that are public speakers. They're very outgoing. They're generally very high functioning. They bore very easily. These are your like adventure racers and entrepreneurs. And then you have the other version of that gene where you break down catecholamines very slowly. And these are considered worriers, not warriors. And warriors are people that constantly ruminate on things. They get hyper fixated, usually on what could go wrong. They have a tendency to have a lot of fear-based types of emotions like anxiousness, anxiety. These are the people that lay down to go to sleep at night and their mind keeps them awake because it's just clicking through the day. Both of these are solvable. If you do the gene test, I actually supplement you specifically for the differences in those. But yes, there's more than one variant of the COMT gene.
So yeah, the reason I asked is I took the original gene test and that was yellow. And I just took the new gene test, the more comprehensive test,
Mhm.
and it said it was working properly. So I
Ah.
wasn't. So there's a conflict in the results. So I wasn't sure if I was interpreting it incorrectly or.
Yeah, so maybe I'd have to look at them side by side. So maybe what it's done is it's it's showing you the suballeles. The second gene test is a lot more comprehensive. So it may
Yeah.
show that the gene is working properly, but some of the suballeles are not working properly, and it will also supplement for those deficiencies. So it's getting you to the same place. It's just showing you that the gene itself is working properly. There are broken suballeles, and it's isolating those suballeles. Whereas in the first test, what I do is I say if anything's broken, I consider the gene to be dysfunctional. We highlight the gene.
Okay. Okay,
Okay.
great. All right.
All right.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Yes, you got it. Sean. Hey, man.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine, brother.
Oh, okay, cool. It shows I'm muted. First, excited to be here and go through this journey. So I did have a question on plunging. So I've worked in some mental health and rehab facilities here, and that's when I actually did. I was doing some internship, and the clients really gravitated to this from a rehab perspective, and so I had an opportunity to do this. And so my experience was a little different. And when I've asked a few, I call them plunge coaches, about my experience, everyone comes back and says, not experienced that. But so when I did the cold plunge, first I'll say we did, I did a 45-minute Wim Hof breathing session, which was a preparation to the plunge. That's what we did with our clients, which that was amazing. First time I did that, I was astonished. And then jumped in the plunge. But people get out after and like people, I feel great. I feel great. When I got out, I actually had I feel like it's a reverse effect. Actually, I mean, I felt fine, but over the course of the next 15, 20, 30 minutes, it's almost like my blood sugar dropped. I'll say was diabetic. I've reversed it. My levels are almost normal now. So I didn't know if that was a factor, but I guess it was almost like my blood sugar dropped.
Yes.
And I got very tired. I didn't get that huge dopamine rush that I was watching other people experience. And so I'm trying to figure out like what's different.
Okay, yeah, there is a very rare hypoglycemic response, and where your body actually will pause the metabolism of blood sugar for a short period of time. Extremely rare. It's actually genetic anomaly. I'm just supposing here for a moment. And then what you do is you feel a lull in blood pressure, and you actually feel a lull on blood sugar, and you actually feel a slight lull in blood pressure, not a dangerous lull in blood pressure. You don't get faint or feel like you're going to pass out, but you just feel like your energy is powered down. So those people should do very short cold plunges, 30 seconds. In cold plunge, get out, and you'll actually avoid the hypoglycemic response. Hypoglycemia, low blood sugar, and hyposystolia, like low blood pressure. When you get hyposystolic, you get both of those at the same time. You just get this sort of wound down kind of effect, like you want to take a nap.
Yes.
And so it's not a panic stricken feeling. It shouldn't be a feeling of like where you feel like your ears are ringing or you're going to pass out or anything like that. It's just like you just feel like your whole body is kind of winding down. So I would significantly reduce the duration of the cold plunge exposure, and I would keep it to 30 seconds or less. And I bet that would go away right away.
Okay. Yeah, I'll try that because it was almost 3 minutes both times I did it.
Yeah.
And exactly what you described is what I went through. It wasn't super alarming, except for maybe I was expecting this dopamine rush.
Yeah, you're like, I want what everybody else is having. Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, what is wrong? Like, what is going on? But exactly what you said is what I felt. More like fatigue. Like I wanted to take almost an immediate nap.
Yeah. Yeah, that's hyposystolia, which hyposystolic, like a slight reduction in blood pressure. and hypoglycemia, which is a drop in blood sugar. You get both of those at the same time, and it just powers you down. It makes you feel very tired. It's an overreaction to the parasympathetic response. It is extraordinarily rare. It's not life-threatening. It's nothing to be like worried about. You just dramatically shorten the duration of the cold plunge.
Yeah, and I don't experience that in my cold showers I do in the
Yeah.
morning. And I'm guessing maybe that's something to do with the temperature of the water.
It has to do with the intensity of the response, right?
Intensity of the-
So in other words, when you intensely, if your body dramatically shifts from fight or flight, sympathetic, to rest and digest, parasympathetic, think about the things that are happening in a parasympathetic state, right? At night, your blood sugar is slowly dropping. Your blood pressure is also going down, right? I mean, you're at rest, right? You are in a parasympathetic state. If you have a dramatic parasympathetic response, you have a dramatic response in both. Extraordinarily rare, not life-threatening, nothing to super concern yourself about. So you reduce the amount of time that you spend in cold exposure so you don't get that heightened parasympathetic response.
Gotcha. Great. All right. That was my question.
All right.
Thank you. I appreciate the feedback.
Yeah, you got it, my friend. Thanks for tuning in, man. Thanks for being a rule breaker, brother.
Appreciate it. Bye.
Hi, Carrie. First of all, this is awesome, dude. I mean, a lot of you guys have been through so many experiences together. I just love these, Hi, Carrie. You came on, then shut your camera off.
Okay, how's that? Can you hear me
There
now?
we go.
Yeah, Gary, I'm Baptist pastor in Tupelo, Mississippi, and I've been following you for some while, and in my line of work, pastors are we're just known to being overweight,
Yes.
and so I have just really went on a mission to try to help my pastor friends. I've got a burden for them to help them, and so I started with cold showers about 3 years ago, and then back a little over a year ago, I started the cold plunge. And you're my guy, and
Thank
so
you.
there's sometimes I have to mute you, with some language, but I love you.
Yeah.
So I'm picking at you. I share your videos all the time, and the reason I'm telling you this is one big concern I have is I haven't found anything yet that tells me work out. Like, I like to get my cold plunge first in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So how long after that, with my body going into that type of shock, is it? I'm 53. So how long before I actually do a HIIT exercise is safe?
So first of all, you and I are the exact same age. I'll be 54 in September. You can work out immediately after. Here's what I would do. I would offer as a transition. So, my routine when I'm here in Miami, I get up in the morning, brush my teeth, splash water on my face. I sort of, I play this little game with myself. I earn my way to the coffee maker. And the first stop for me is the cold plunge. And then when I'm done a cold plunge, I actually, my gym and my cold plunge are very close to each other. I go into the other room and I walk on a treadmill for 10 to 12 minutes. And that warms your body up, and prepares you for exercise. But about 10 to 12 minutes after you've warmed up, you're absolutely fine to start working out. In fact, you will find that your workouts are better fueled when you do that. Now, I go from there down to a red light therapy bed. I grab my coffee and I go outside and I do some breath work and I get a little sunlight. And then I go back down to the gym and exercise, because I'll have taken perfect aminos. I'll have taken some, mineral salts like a Baja Gold or a Celtic salt. So I do give my body a few minutes after I've gotten out of the cold plunge, but about 10 to 12 minutes on a treadmill, stationary bike, stair climber, an elliptical is plenty to just mildly raise your heart rate and flush that vasoconstriction out, so your vascular system is dilated back to normal. Once that's done, 10 to 12 minutes, you're fine to exercise as hard as you want. In fact, all of my professional athletes that I work with, I have them cold plunge prior to their workouts, and we see less frequency of injury, because one of the things that cold plunging does is actually flushes out all those inflammatory microtoxins that are all around our joints and our ligaments and our tendons. And so once you warm that back up, you're good to go. 10 to 12 minute transition.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it. Mississippi water is about 90 degrees in the summer coming out. So my goal is to get a cold plunge piece of equipment that can stay, because it's pretty tough, because we have about 8 months of hot water. But it's thank the Lord that our church has an ice machine, and I can fill a cooler up after every service. So
Amen.
But
and if you got a tub, I mean, get in there and
Yes, sir.
yeah, take the ice from your ice machine and put it in there. Get a little, a thermometer. Keep it between 50 and 55 degrees Fahrenheit, so you're not, too cold. And that'll be such a game changer for you, brother.
All right. Well, I appreciate it, man. I'm looking forward to these next 2 days.
Thank you, man. Thanks for the kind words. I appreciate that. Hi there. I think it's. Hi. Okay, you're not muted. I can hear you.
Sorry.
That's okay.
First of all, I really just want to thank you so much, because I started off listening to you about a year ago, changed my life. I have 6 grown kids, 25 to 35, and you have changed every one of their lives.
Wow, thank you.
Husbands, their wives, I'm not even kidding. Their rule breakers. I mean, I can't thank you enough. I'm gonna cry.
Thank you. That's really kind of you. That's why I do what I do.
I really appreciate it. So I had a question about my daughter, actually, and she has PCOS, and she was on the pill this was before you. They took the vaccine. They've changed their life completely. They do the cold plunge now. Everything you talk about, they feel great. But now they want to start trying to have a family. So I was just wondering if there's any other things she could do, if there's a detox even that she should do.
Can you do me a huge favor? Will you go get that book that's on my table between those 2 chairs, or it's on my desk? There's a book that I'm going to recommend that you get free. Is it your daughter that has PCOS?
Yes.
Yeah, polycystic ovarian syndrome. So the most important thing to do is to fix their methylation cycle, right? Because if you think about a cyst in the ovary or a cyst in the uterine wall, these things grow like a snake, right? So the head of the snake comes through, and it starts to show itself in the wall, and then the tail is where it's growing from. It's like the root. So each time they have a menstrual cycle, a small amount of this sloughs off, right? So if you can stop it from growing, then it's sort of like a meat slicer, you can slowly get rid of these cysts, these polycysts. Yes, this one right here, paradigm shift. This is I can never say this doctor's last name, Katina van der Merwe. I want to show you this book. She is amazing. It's called A Paradigm Shift in Treating EDS, which is Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and POTS, Positional Orthostatic Tachycardia syndrome. But she goes all through PCOS in here, and some of the detox routines and some of the supplements that are really good for PCOS. You could probably get this on Amazon for about $9. Oh, you just sent her the link? Okay, so my team just sent you the link. Okay, so I would give that one to your daughter.
For a detox. And
yeah, no, there's a specific one in there, which is why I said it would take me a while to explain it, and I want to get to about 10 other hands. But I would say, absolutely to get her book.
I appreciate it so much, and we make your shake every day too. The Gary Boreka.
Awesome! I see it. You even got the coconut in there. That's so awesome. The coconut cream.
Thank you so much.
All right, God bless you. Thank you so much for the kind words. Those are awesome, man. I love hearing those. Hi there. Oh, Valentina,
Hi,
man, I'm jealous. I just left the Colorado mountains.
It's very nice to meet you and everyone. And thank you so much for this opportunity to have a call and communicate with so many people. I also wanted to join the thank you, group. You really changed my life. I've been treated for depression and anxiety for 4 years with antidepressants, and I've started listening to your podcasts last year around November time. I did the DNA test, and started supplementing based on my MTFH gene mutation, and I got off antidepressants, and I feel amazing. So you really, really changed my life. And today
Thank you
I
so
just did my
much.
first cold plunge in the lake. I'm out in British Columbia.
Well, I mean, honestly, that's the best place to do it. I mean, that's God's cold plunge right there. That's why I said I'm jealous.
Exactly. It was great for me. And I do have a question about cold plunge. Actually, my
Shoot.
husband did a cold plunge some time ago, and he did 2 in a row with some break between them. And on the second one, he had the neck tingling sensation as if his circulation to the brain was cut off, and he really felt awful. And I was wondering what it was and what he did wrong. So I really want to get him into cold plunging with me, but he says after this, no way in hell I'm going to do it.
Yeah. I would say 2 things: too cold or too long. So too cold. This is why I always try to emphasize colder is not better and longer is not better. Again, this is a cold shock response, right? And this is something that our body would naturally counter in nature. Right. So there are times when your body has to adapt to extreme changes in temperature. By the way, there are also something called heat shock proteins, which you can get those in a dry sauna or in an infrared sauna. So what I would really encourage him to do, a cold plunge is technically anything below 58 degrees Fahrenheit. Right. So you can go 55 to 58 degrees Fahrenheit, start at 30 seconds, work your way up to a minute, and eventually work your way to 3 minutes, and don't go over 3 minutes. He would probably be better to start with cold showers. I'd be very, very shocked if a cold shower solicited. Some people have a condition called Raynaud's syndrome, which is a circulatory condition where the fingers and their toes can go numb even at room temperature. So if you have Raynaud's, or you have circulatory issues, I recommend getting the little booties. And get them off Amazon for about $10 or $12, and they just zip over your feet, and they actually keep your feet from coming in contact with the water. And you can leave your hands out of the cold plunge if you're doing a cold plunge, or you can kind of leave them out of the shower if you're doing a shower. Interestingly, people are like, "How do I get the circulation back going in my hands?" One of my favorite techniques is a very, very simple technique of just holding your arm at your side and pretending like you're just chopping wood with it. Hold it up high and just let your arm pass by you like this. And that centrifugal force will actually force the blood back down into the fingers if you have a circulatory issue. So I would reduce the time and I would increase the temperature.
Thank you so much.
For sure. Thank you for the kind words too. I never get tired of these, man. Okay, I got 15 minutes and 7 questions. So let's see if we can get through them. Hey, Sean. Oh, Sam. Hey, brother.
Hey.
How you doing, man?
Good. I had a question, but I wanted to share a quick success story with you. I started following you beginning of this year in January, and I had a unexpected life experience that happened where I was married and it just didn't work out, and my mind could have gone all kinds of different directions. And I came across your podcast, started following what you were suggesting, took the gene test, took the DNA test, the blood test, and got my hydrogen water here with me.
Awesome.
And perfect aminos, all that stuff. Like literally anything that you said or suggested, I tried. And long story short, it's absolutely changed my life. Feel like a totally different person now. And had a job opportunity and moved down to Fort Myers here. And sold my house in Ohio, invested in the all-in plunge.
Awesome.
Because I was using my bathtub as a cold plunge for a long time, and I'm 6'4", and it's hard to get my whole body submerged into it.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to thank you for all your guidance, and I wouldn't be in this position without your advice.
Thank you.
I had a question about testosterone. What are your thoughts on that? I'm 33 years old. One of the doctors with 10X that I spoke with, he suggested it, but wasn't like a hard suggestion. It was kind of like, this makes me feel good. I would look into it. But
yeah. First of all, thank you so much. I mean, that's I never get tired of hearing those, and I love that you took your journey and sort of turned it inward. I tell people this all the time: if you don't know what to do in life, then turn inward, meaning focus on yourself. Right? If you're at like a career crossroads, or you're at a relationship crossroads, or you're just at a crossroad in your life trying to figure out who you are, why you're here, what's your purpose, what's your passion. I don't really know what direction to go with my life. I'm in a career that I don't really like. I'm in a relationship I don't really like. Turn inward on yourself. And by that, I mean, go ahead and be selfish and focus on yourself. Go down the rabbit hole of, getting yourself in great condition, focus on eating whole foods and trying to get processed foods out of your life. Breath work, sunlight, grounding. It's astounding what happens to you when you're on your way to doing something else. And a lot of times when people get confused, the last thing they do is take time for self-care. So I'm really glad that you did that, during that kind of crossroad period of your life. I think it's a real metaphor for life. So testosterone is a growth hormone releasing hormone. It's an it's amino acid peptide. It's very safe. There are very long-term studies on testosterone. You can do it safely for 90 days, 7 days a week. After that, you want to go to 5 days on and 2 days off. This is called a tachyphylactic protocol, an anti-desensitization protocol. It's excellent for fatty acid metabolism. It's even better for muscle building. So in your early 30s, the last thing you want to do is start on human growth hormone, because that will just borrow from your future. But the amino acid peptides don't borrow from your future. So I'm a huge fan of testosterone.
Okay, I appreciate it. Yeah, because my waist size has gone down like crazy.
It was awesome.
I really haven't lost weight. It's like my body fat exchanged for muscle, and I went from like a 36 and I'm like a 32 now waist size, and
that's amazing, man. I mean, that is the power of peptides. It's amazing. And you probably notice, if you're tracking your sleep, that your sleep scores have improved. Your sleep doesn't lengthen, but it deepens.
Yep.
Awesome, man. Thank you for those words, brother. Keep up the good work, man. I'm happy to hear about your journey. Hi, Kathy. I'm going to get all 6 of these questions done. I promise you.
Hey, Gary, I just want to say my family calls me a Gary girl.
They do?
Oh, yeah.
Say, I'm not a Gary girl. I'm a rule breaker.
I'm a rule breaker too, but they call me a Gary girl.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm doing the glutathione. I do the perfect aminos, Echo Go. Like, if you say it, I get it, or I do it. So I did the blood test and the gene test. I have a red COMT and a yellow MTHFR.
Mm-hmm.
So the protocol I've been following after talking with Dr. Sarda, who's amazing, by the way, I'm doing 2 TMGs in the morning, a SAMe, 2 Optimize. And then in the evening, I do 1 extra, 5 MTHFR, and an Optimize.
Okay.
Is there anything else you can suggest for like the racing thoughts? And
yes, there is something called magnesium breakthrough.
I do that.
Okay, magnesium breakthrough. Do you add the sleep breakthrough?
No, is that from you or is that from them?
So same company called Bio-Optimizers. You can take these together. One is called magnesium breakthrough, and you take 1 big scoop of that. And the second one is called sleep breakthrough, and you take 2 tiny little scoops of that, and you just mix it in the same water with the magnesium breakthrough, and it should quiet those thoughts right down. Again, it's a metabolite. You'll never build a tolerance to this. You'll never build a dependency on it. You'll never increase the dose. You can stop at any time without dropping off a cliff. You can restart it. And I find that the combination of those two, because you have you have not to sound too fearful, but that's a nasty series of breaks because MTHFR is early in the sequence, COMT is late in the sequence. So you have what's called a compounded COMT break, right? COMT not only doesn't work, but it doesn't even get the raw material it needs to do its job. So the extra magnesium from the breakthrough and the sleep breakthrough, and it's by biooptimizers, I think will be a game changer for you.
Will that also help with like the emotional dysregulation, anxiety, that kind of stuff?
Yes. If you still feel that after doing magnesium and sleep breakthrough, then I would consider adding 1 SAM-E capsule in the morning.
I do that. I do 1 SAM-E in the morning.
Okay. So let's see how the sleep breakthrough does for you and what happens to those symptoms over the 14 days after you start that.
Awesome. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're super welcome. Is it David?
It is. Thanks,
Man, I could
Gary.
do this all day. I love this. Hey, David.
Hey, I put a comment in as well in the chat, but I've got the good fortune of being at my summer home, which happens to be on a lake. And the good news is the lake is a perfect temperature for water sports, not so great for cold plunge.
Right.
But I do my morning routine. The beach happens to face east, so I'm doing my morning routine kind of like you expect in terms of the grounding and the breath work and whatnot right on the beach, which is pretty cool. And
Neighbors
then
think you're crazy.
you're
out there.
Well, little. Yeah, exactly. Well, where they really think I'm crazy is when they see me jump in my boat because they know I'm going across to the waterfall to do my cold plunge. There's a snowmelt waterfall right across the lake, just a couple miles.
Yeah,
And
better.
so jump in a boat, go blasting across, and get my cold plunge there. But so it's terrific. And then to warm up, I run up but hike up the mountain a couple of miles to come back, and I'm ready to have a great breakfast. My question though revolves around cold plunging. I did one recently at a dealer of some plunge tubs, and they had one of those tubs that's cold and warm, both, side by side. And it was pretty terrific in terms of getting out of the cold and into the 100-degree water right away. Is that something that you recommend doing? Because I'm thinking of putting a hot tub in here now, so that when I come back, I can get in there. And do you recommend going back and forth?
Yes, that's called contrast therapy, and that's actually very good for you. I mean, the science for that is very valid. You remember, our vascular system, our arterial system is smooth muscle. We were talking about this earlier, right? We don't think about exercising our vascular system, but you can, right? When you heat, you dilate. When it's cold, you constrict. The dilation, constriction, and just like a bicep, you can actually improve the vascular integrity of the system by doing contrast therapy. You can improve the strength, what's called the vasomotor strength of your arteries by doing contrast therapy. If you think about the majority of the population for centuries lived in contrasting climates, and we didn't have the ability to control our temperature the way they would do now. We had the ability to mitigate our temperature somewhat, but we didn't have the vast control of our temperature. And if you were in a wood-fired stove cabin and then walked out into 15 degrees, and you worked outside in 15 degrees and walked back into a wood-fired cabin, those temperature transitions are 60, 70, 80 degrees. And we adapted to that. And so contrast therapy is great. Sauna, cold plunge, hot shower, cold shower, or hot tub, cold plunge. There's contrast therapy.
And do you recommend multiple times, or is just one to one?
No more than 2 times in each, and always end on cold. Right. In fact, one of my favorite sleep hacks for people that have a really hard time breaking the pattern between their day and going to bed is for them to do a contrast therapy, and they can do it in the shower. So I have them just get in the shower, run the water at warm, then put the water as hot as you can stand it, and let it run on the back of your neck and down your back. It usually feels really good. My wife loves that part. And run that hot water as warm as you can stand it. Then step out of the shower, turn it as cold as it will go, and do 30 seconds to a minute max, just 30 seconds to a minute max of that cold contrast, and then go get in your bed. And you tell me if that doesn't just put you right to sleep. And what it does is it actually breaks the catecholamine cycle. It actually breaks that cycle of being hyper aware, right? Because you break that cycle being focused on your day, and you can actually start to get into a good sleep routine. So I'm a huge fan. No more than 2 cycles and always end on cold.
Fantastic. Thanks, Gary. I love it. Doing everything
Yep.
that you're suggesting, and appreciate everything you're doing. Thank you.
Awesome. You got it, my friend. All right, we got 4 more. I'm going to get through them. Hi there.
Hello. I am a rural Brecca. Looking for a, oh, sorry, my dog's trying to get in on this.
I love
looking
dogs.
for a reputable gene testing company that I could do out of pocket. Had a scare with my husband last year. He has had lifetime of recurrent kidney stones, and kind of went to the kidney doctor, and they said, oh, you need a prostate exam. And then they said, oh, you need to do a prostate biopsy. And I'm like, wait, wrong body part. That's not what we're doing here. So I said, absolutely not. It's super invasive. So we did a full body scan. Turned out he had a brain aneurysm, 9 millimeter, and a 5 millimeter brain aneurysm. It turns out that there is a link between kidney stones and brain aneurysms. It's called polycystic, kidney syndrome. And so thankfully, that was in October of last year. In December, he actually had brain surgery, has the flow diversion done. He is amazing. He's a rock star. Like, missed 2 days of work, is awesome. The aneurysm.
The brain surgery? Wow.
Yeah, the aneurysm's totally gone, the big one, and the other one is not changed in size. But the insurance company refuses to do the genetic test to see if he has the polycystic kidney. So I'm happy to pay out of pocket. I just don't. Who's a reputable one that you could Google everything, and there's places to get gene tests. But number one, I don't know what the name of the test is. I'm sure my doctor will tell me that, but I just don't know how to rate a genetic online testing company.
Yeah, you can do the gene test that I offer, because remember that there's kidney stones are often thought of as calcium stones. They're actually not calcium, they're minerals.
Okay.
And the reason why minerals build up in the kidney is the same reason why minerals build up in other parts of the body, because you have a broken methylation cycle. So there's certain minerals that the body cannot methylate. And so when in the kidney is especially susceptible to this, because the nephron, the nephrotic tissue, is filtering the blood, and it's actually purposely trapping these minerals, and it's breaking them down, and it's turning them into something called urea, and eliminating it. If you can't properly methylate, then these minerals slowly build up over time. And the best thing to do is to address the methylation pathway deficiency with the right supplementation. So if he did the test that I offer, you can get it at 10xhealthtest.com. Just go to 10x, the number 10, the letter X, healthtest.com, and they'll send it right to your front door. You swab his cheek, you send it to the lab, it'll come back to you, and it'll tell you exactly what to supplement with.
Okay, and then if there is any specific gene test, can you recommend a reputable location?
Yes, and then I would, if you need to do hyper-specific genetic testing for specific disease or pathology, I would use Genova, Genova. Genova Diagnostics. I mean, they test for every potential genetic anomaly in the world. I will warn you, though, their report will give you paralysis of analysis. I do this for a living. I've dedicated the entire balance of my adult lifetime to it, and I have a very difficult time getting through their full reports. So you want to read the section specifically related to the kidney, right? Or else they're 180, 190 page reports. I find them extraordinarily confusing, and they give me paralysis of analysis, like trying to buy a stock with 50 different charts telling you different things.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you.
You're welcome. All right. Good luck to you and your husband. Hey, Michael. All right. 2 minutes left. I'm going to try to get through 3 questions. I'll stay an extra minute or two because I promised I would get through these guys. Hey, Michael, how are you, buddy?
Good. How you doing? I just got a quick question on the BPC 157 with the peptide sciences. How do you determine the dosage?
So the dosage is right on the label. It's usually 500 milligrams daily, orally. It comes in different dosages if you take it by injection, but it will never come to you without the dosage instructions.
Okay.
So injections are good for what we call spot injections. So for specific things, a rotator cuff, a lateral epicondylitis, so you can actually site inject. A bicep tendon, you could go into the anterior part of the shoulder right here, the front part of the deltoid. Believe it or not, of most peptides, I would tell you injectable route is better. BPC 157 is a gastric peptide. It's actually derived from gastric juice. So it's actually tolerated very well orally, and it has an amazing ability to find the location that it needs to go to, right? Because it's highly attracted to inflammation. When you have a micro tear in a ligament or a tendon, you break apart something called a fibroblast, and this fibroblast starts signaling to the bloodstream. BPC is attracted to that signal, right? Like a fly to fly paper. And so it's one of the few peptides that I'm a huge fan of taking orally, because it can usually find the site where it's needed throughout the bloodstream.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
You got it, brother. All right. One last one. Oh, Michael was actually the last question. All right, I made it through all the questions. That's all. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and taking the plunge with me. I'm going to see you all back here tomorrow morning because we're going to be doing the same thing. We're going to be taking the plunge at 10:55. I have another special guest tomorrow, and an even more special guest. I was almost said specialer, but that's not actually a word. A specialer guest. A more special guest the following day. I want to make this as impactful as possible. I want to make it zero cost for you and super highly impactful. Guys, if you could do me one favor, help me build this Rural BRCA community.